All right, g'day. Sitting with me, well, I'm Dan Brash. Sitting with me is John Constant, high school teacher at Scone High here, and he's an industrial tech, timber and metal teacher. And yeah, thanks for doing this for me, mate. I appreciate it.
No worries.
So yeah, got a few questions. So yes, how you inform decisions of planning and teaching within a teaching cycle, like your kids? What are some techniques and stuff?
One of the big ones I use is a RAP data analysis, which is like a HSC analysis, where you can look at the previous year's data and information and sort of get a good idea of, potentially areas of weakness in learning, but also for us the major project's a big part, which is looking at where the main components are that maybe they struggled.
Is that like more summative kind of?
It's kind of like, because it's the HSC, it's the external assessed thing, which we don't have any much control over what that looks like, but how we prepare for that and how we work through the major project is really a year-long project, a year-long thing. So it takes a bit of time.
Yes.
And using that data is really good to say, hey, look, okay, maybe they didn't understand that concept as well as I thought as I went through other assessment. So maybe I need to go back over and review how I've taught that to add in better examples, more information to get a better understanding, particularly for students that might have struggled in areas that you thought they taught, taught quite well.
Yeah, good. Cool. So next question is, how do you plan lessons to incorporate engaging teaching strategies? So what type of strategies and how do you do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, woodwork, metalwork and design, they're all best taught in project-based learning. Yeah. So developing a worthwhile project that actually engages the students' interests, while also ticking the box for curriculum outcomes that you want to hit, and also the skills, and also looking at skill progression. So that's what you have to think about. So trying to incorporate things like good demonstrations, good ways to get students engaged, even if it's like a little bit out of sequence for some. Sometimes it's like, hey guys, this is what's coming up. And I always find a good engagement one is doing it with them or doing it beside them, so then they can see, oh, now I understand. Yes. This is how you do it. Oh, okay. Oh, I've made a mistake. No worries. Here's how to fix it. Showing them those things, building them up, building their confidence. Yeah. Once they get engaged and that sort of stuff, it's just...
Yeah, good. So it's like a I do, we do, you do kind of a...
Yeah, pretty much. It's a good way of structuring it. And I've particularly found, for those that lack confidence, it gives them a bit of like I can see Sir doing it. Yes. And you often have to do the conversation with them of, yeah, I've made it look easy, but I've done it a couple of 100 times. It's not going to do easy for you the first time, but it comes. And seeing that progression themselves, seeing a project come together, helps them to really engage over time. And once they start to get to a certain key points, they start to see progress. They see how their work has actually gained them things. Yeah, and that's really engages them.
Yeah, that's great. I can imagine how rewarding that is. Next question is, how do you select and use a variety of assessment tools and practices, including feedback? So mainly including feedback. So assessment tools. Feedback.
So an easy one I use most lessons, particularly in practical lessons, is observational assessment, like the informal assessment. Yeah. It's sort of keeping an eye on, okay, well, I've taught this particular skill, say using a router. So once I've shown them the demonstration, the first one's engaging in it, keeping an eye on how they're going, and then if they're re-engaging with that tool the next lesson or later in that lesson, keeping an eye to see how they've improved their usage. Yeah. But it's always being as presence in the room to say, oh look, hey, I saw this going on, before you do that, do this, or make sure you got that going, or make sure you check your glasses, or where's your earmuffs. And that's an informal feedback, but it's helping them to reinforce that understanding of, okay, here's what I need to do before I do that practice.
Yeah. Do you kind of do it like prompting is a good way to do it? Like kind of like not saying I'm telling you, but you kind of just like, oh, maybe think about, have you done it? Have you gone through the process right? Or like little things that kind of they have to kind of come up with? Or?
Yeah, sometimes it's sort of a little bit of like, oh yeah, we need to join that together to make it wider. So if we've already gone through the basic skills of how to do that, you go, so what do you need to get? Yeah. And I try to prompt them to use the word terms or go, oh, I need to get that tool. Yep, that's perfect. Go grab that one.
That'll give them empowerment, like go, geez, I know what I'm doing. Like it's not a red cross against them for forgetting it.
No.
It's just like, wow.
It's just a prompting and trying to remind them to get them to engage with things. And then the other ones that I always use, particularly with design technology, but also in Timber, it's when they're students developing portfolios and things like that. It's always a sequence of learning for them, and it's skills building for later years. We're always forward thinking. We're trying to think, okay, well, I've got a Year 9 student, they need to learn skills that if they continue through this course all the way through to Year 12, they need to know these particular things, how to write, how to provide feedback or how to correctly document processes, how to research things. So getting them to do like mini versions of these portfolios and giving them written feedback. I often use Google Classroom so they can be working on it. I can just make a comment. Or they can say, hey sir, can you check this out for me? And you can just write some little comments and add little notes for them to say, hey, what about this section? What about researching this part? Or hey, what about this thing here? Or you can highlight a bit and say, what's that meant to be? And this gives them that little bit of ongoing feedback as they go, because then when they get to the end of that maybe assessment task where they hand it in, they then have the confidence that they'll probably go fairly well, but also tick all the boxes that you want to have them done for their learning.
That's it, God, Google Classroom, how good. Next question is, how do you make judgments on the quality of student work and engage in moderation practices?
So a lot of the time I use an exemplar, or I call them what a good one looks like. And these can be collected over time. Like once you start teaching for a fair while, you usually collect a few. Sometimes what a good one is your own version of something. You might go, oh, we're going to do this project next year, so you'll go make one to make sure you know where the pitfalls will be for students, but you can also then show them, hey guys, here's what a good one looks like.
That's also good for you as well, right? Like I guess every woodwork teacher will make a mistake along the way, but it's always good. You must have, like I know that when I do work in the man cave or whatever, like not with kids, but you go, geez, I didn't see that one coming. I'm glad I dodged that one. And that's the thing, is trying to identify what those problems will be to then go, okay, maybe I need to tweak this to make this a little bit different, or maybe that needs to be a bit different because you high-end kids might be able to figure that out, but your kids that might struggle might need a different way of doing it. So that's how most of that's the moderation. And then the other part is, like I've been HC marker for a number of years in design technology, so that's kind of a professional level moderation where we mark the HC, so we all work to a standard. We set the criteria, or the criteria set by NESA, who's above us all, and then we go through the process of marking a couple of hundred projects around looking at the set criteria. And you're all pretty much within a realm of like, so no one's saying, well, that's a D and that's an A. You're all
it works to a very tight margin of moderation to say, we're within 2-3 marks of each other. And that's collectively, a group of about 100 people getting into that same identification of here's what the lowest marks are, here's what the good ones are, here's what the average ones are, here's what that looks like, here's what that looks like. And then I bring that back into my classroom and I use it to help with my moderation of my own students' work, to be able to say, all right guys, here's what this one looks like, here's what this one looks like, and then you can give them that good valuable feedback, particularly going towards HSC.
That's brilliant. So how many years you've been doing that?
7 years now.
Jeez, that's cool. Well done. And last question is, how do you measure the impact your teaching has on the students' learning? So it could be a few different things, like it could be through your summative stuff, or it could be even through, I don't know, personality, like how they feel within themselves, like confidence, and does that come into it? Like, do you go, geez, they're growing in confidence?
A little bit around, one of the big things I always look for is that understanding, or meta language effectively, where you say, oh yeah, what do you need to do next? And they might be like, if it's in class, oh yeah, I need to grab the the biscuit cutter.
Yes.
And that's a little step, but then when they go, oh, I need to get that finished to look good, or I need to do this for this reason, and them understanding those concepts that you've been teaching over time.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of repeated understanding of, as they go through the year, they'll pick up other things, understanding, or different levels of understanding, and then having that language to be able to have that conversation of, okay, what do you need to do next? Or that sort of thing as well. And then in summative, of course, you always have, usually have an examination, which is a pretty clear cut usually of, do they understand this concept or that concept? But even in portfolio work and things like that, where they can say what they've done or remember those terms and those things, that's always a good way to understand and gauge students' knowledge.
Awesome.
And this hopefully show how you've impacted their actual learning.
That's great. Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much, mate, for helping me out with this, and very great information, and a lot of knowledge that I'm sure that I'll keep in touch and pick your brain a bit more, mate. But I really do appreciate it.
No worries.
Thanks for your time.